Hello everyone, welcome to IS Baba. So in this session we are going to talk about history questions which were asked in UPSC Mains first paper. So overall 6 questions were asked, and all these questions encompassing modern history, then again ancient history, then again art and culture, world history also. So all the questions were pretty much direct. If you had the basic understanding of history, and also if you had gone through the previous year questions too, and some of the questions were directly repeated out of the themes of previous year questions. So we will discuss all the questions, and I will try to give you as many points as possible. So which are the points could have been used to write this particular answer. So first question that is asked, that is underline the changes in the field of society and economy from the Rig Vedic to the later Vedic period. That is 150 words, 10 markers. So this is again comparing between Rig Vedic times as well as later Vedic times. Of course, you can start the introduction with the timelines. The timeline of the Vedas on the basis of the composition of these books. In the Rig Vedic time, Rig Veda was composed. In the later Vedic times, that is the later Vedic text that we can talk about Yajur Veda, Samaveda and Atharva Veda, and again some Brahmanas, Aranyakas and Upanishads. So these were composed in the later Vedic times, and that is how the timeline of this has been divided, and this timeline is suggested by Max Muller in 19th century. So these are pretty much simple introduction you could have written about giving the timelines. Rig Vedic times, that is from 1500 to 1000 BC, and later Vedic times from 1000 BC to around 600 500 BC too. Okay, so now they are asking particularly about which one, the societal aspect of Rig Veda and later Veda, and again economic aspect of Rig Veda and later Veda. Okay, simply you have to write about the Rig Vedic society, and then again later Vedic society, later Vedic Rig Vedic economy, as well as later Vedic economy. And again all these 6 questions that we covered in our various courses, we covered in our rapid revision classes, and then again we covered in our we can say the foundation class in our ILP program, and some particularly art and culture we covered particularly in our PEP program also. Okay, so across our various programs we covered all these questions too. Okay, so now look at that one. So this is the pretty much your introduction that's talking about the pretty much time. Again, you have to use certain facts instead of using colorful words. So stick to the substance of that particular question. So you have to write the substance rather than the colorful words in the answer writing too. So that substance is again proving your argument with some kind of facts. So we will see how throughout this particular session, so how which kind of facts you could have used to write this particular answer. And there is a perceptible change, like I told you, there is a lot of changes that happened between later Vedic times, sorry, Rig Vedic times to later Vedic times. First we will see the Rig Vedic times, the society of Rig Veda. Again, I'm not sticking to 150 words limit here because I'm giving all the points which could have been used. So it is not like you have to use all these points. So some of the points could have been used to constrict your answer to 150 words. So that is I will try to give as many points as possible for every question that has been asked. So Rig Vedic times, first we have to talk about the geography. So that's why I told you substance. So Rig Vedic times, the geographical region is Saptasindhava region, that is the Indus region and its tributaries. So you don't have to write about all those tributaries names because that is not the substance of this question. You have to talk about how the society was shaping in that particular geographical region, and pretty much simply Rig Vedic times, that is very egalitarian society. There was no discrimination. Society was pretty much equal. So that is the word we can use, the egalitarian, that is the keyword, egalitarian. At the same time, how the wealth was owned, and there is a collective ownership of cattle because cattle was a major form of wealth that we will see in economy. So there is a collective ownership of cattle that talks about the egalitarian aspect of this particular society, and society was based upon we can say familial ties and tribal familial ties. The tribes were called as Jana. Okay, and these entire tribes were divided into bigger clans, and that clans is Vish. Okay, clans is Vish, and then in Kula, and the clans are further divided into family, and that is called as Kula. Okay, at the same time Jana, that is the entire tribes. So this we are talking about the Aryan tribes. Okay, and this concept is a very simple concept. The tribes, the clans, bigger clans, at the same time the family, Kula, and this concept was quite dominant without any further discrimination in the society. Okay, so there was no fourfold division of the society that had happened during Rig Vedic times. At the same time, the head of the Kula was called as Kulapa. Okay, he was a male member of the family. He was a male member of the family, and that is the reason we can see little bit patriarchal mindset over there. Okay, so it is not, patriarchy was not entrenched. So it is just that the head of the family was always the male member. He was called as Kulapa. At the same time, there was no restrictions on social mobility. Anybody could have become Raja. Okay, anybody could have become leader of that particular tribe, and to increase the wealth of that particular tribe by acquiring cattle. So that Raja was accountable. Many Sabha and Samitis were there. Okay, so many tribal assemblies were there, which can be called as Sabha and Samiti. And Raja was responsible as Samiti. If Raja is not Raja, we don't have to take it in literal sense of Raja, that he was not permanent, he was not hereditary, but rather he was based upon this particular performance, how he is protecting the cattle, how he is protecting that particular tribe, and how he is increasing the wealth of that particular tribe also. And this in Sabha and Samiti, all the members participated. That's why I told you that's egalitarian society. So all the members were participated in Samiti, elder members were there in Sabha, and even women were also participating in this particular society, particular assembly. So, and that shows there was no gender discrimination. Okay, it means there was equal opportunities for all the sections of the society. Anybody could have become the ruler. Anybody could have practiced learning of Vedas. There was no such restrictions during this point of time. Okay, and when it comes to in that society, the religious aspect is very simple. The personification of the nature happened. In that personification of nature, they used again the male form. That is the reason I used little bit patriarchy, because of the male form of gods were also used. That is, we can say majorly Agni, Varuna, Vayu, Surya, Indra, and Soma. So that shows that this society was far more equal compared to the later way society. We'll come to that, why that particular changes happened over there. And when it comes to religious, in the same religious life, the position of women was far more greater. Okay, so there is religious freedom. There was no restrictions on the religious participation, and certain practices which we can see in the Rigvedic times. That is, one such practice was niyoga, which can be called as kind of a widow remarriage. Okay, widow remarriage. So and also women were also composing Vedas. So we have evidences of women composing Vedas, and that shows that education was given to women also. Okay, and at the same time we can talk about the composition of Vedas. That's why I told you that's education. That is a composition of Vedas by women. At the same time, they had more freedom to choose their partners, more freedom to choose their spouse, and that is the reason there was no concept of child marriage. So this is Rigvedic society. Okay, so these things we actually covered in our many classes too. Okay, so in our foundation class also we have covered this comparison between Rigvedic as well as later Vedic too. Okay, so these are the various points you could have written. Of course, I have given many points which can exceed 150 words, but all these points could have been used over there. Okay, so all these points, or rather out of all these points, you could have used some of the points that would have come to top of your mind. The major important points you could have used over there. This is Rigvedic society. Okay, so now we can see the later Vedic society. Again, the Rigvedic society happened, or that society was taking shape in the Indus Valley, and now the later Vedic society was taking shape in the Ganga Valley, which can be called as Ganges Valley. And now what was happening in later Vedic society is that egalitarian values were started losing relevance. Okay, they started to decline because of the growth of, we can say, some kind of assimilation between Aryans and non-Aryans, because of growth of inequality. Okay, so unequal distribution of wealth that was happening. Okay, so now we can say Varna system had already emerged, that fourfold Varna system, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, that started to emerge by the time period of later Vedic societies too. And particularly out of these four, Brahmana and Kshatriyas, their position was increasing rapidly. Why their position was increasing rapidly? Because of the gifts which is being given to priestly classes as well as the ruling classes, and these gifts were given different names we can talk about. That is, the Kshatriyas were given with initially it was voluntary, then later become mandatory, that is called as Bali. Okay, so that is the reason their status was increasing. Okay, so and the priestly class for receiving gifts for conducting we can say ceremonies. So that is the reason their position was increasing. So now that society came to be composed of highly unequal groups. That's what we can use. Okay, these are the keywords we have to use in that particularly while writing this particular answer. Okay, and now this society, this unequal society, and that was given religious sanctions. What my religious sanction? By explaining or using religion to explain how that particular concept was emerged, and particularly one hymn that is shows that how this four section evolved out of the body of Prajapati, also called as Purusha. Okay, how initially the role of Prajapati was the creation of universe, but right now the role of Prajapati is to creation of that fourfold Varna system, and that is called as religious sanctions too. Okay, and now we talked about the women's status in Rigvedic times. Now in later Vedic times, what happened? The women's status started to decline. The reason why women's status started to decline is very simple, because this inequality which was there in the society, they want to maintain that we can say purity of the upper classes as well as the lower classes, and to maintain that purity, what they did is that they used patriarchal mindset to impose more restrictions on women interactions with the lower Varnas. Okay, and that led to declining women's status with more restriction of participation in public and religious life. Now the restrictions started, and now the Niyoga was not sanctioned, not accepted. Okay, then the education was taken away, property rights were taken away. Okay, and now in the Rigvedic times we talked about the simpler religious life, that is personification of nature with Agni, Indra, okay, then Vayu, Varuna. But right now more importance was being given to sacrifices, that is yajnas and ceremonies. Okay, and that led to domination of one particular classes, that is the priestly class. Like I told you, they were conducting ceremonies, they were receiving gifts. At the same time, that led to domination of few classes, we can say. At the same time, in the political field in that particular society, that Sabha and Samiti were holding Rajan accountable during the Rigvedic times, and now that Sabha and Samiti lost relevance because his power is increasing, Kshatriya's power is increasing. At the same time, he is becoming permanent. He made his position permanent. And that is the reason he made Sabha and Samiti lose relevance. And overall, Rajan position became more and more permanent. So these are the various points you could have used in comparing between early Vedic society as well as later Vedic society. Early Vedic means the Rigvedic society too. Okay, so these are the points you could have used. And when it comes to economy, that is economy of Rigveda and later Veda. And economy of Rigveda, again, quite simple. It was a pastoral economy. Pastoral means that is cattle rearing, we can say. Okay, cattle rearing. Like already mentioned, in that society, cattle was the chief form of wealth. There a lot of importance was given to cattle, and there was only one crop was there. Okay, there was only one crop, and that one crop was Yava, which can be called as barley. Okay, which is barley. Okay, and we have evidences of certain words to prove that there was economy, there was agriculture. That is, these are the terms that are used: kshetra and urvara, which is called as, that is a cultivated field as well as the fertile fields. And in that economy, there was no iron. There was no iron in Rigveda. Okay, so that is because there was no iron, it can be called as that economy was filled with backward technology, because only one metal was mentioned. Okay, only one metal was mentioned in the Rigvedas, and that metal can be called as ayas. And according to certain historians, either it could be copper or bronze. Okay, ayas means metal. Okay, iron came into existence in later Vedic times, so that is a major difference that happened. Okay, like I told you, there is a lot of importance to cattle because it was a cattle rearing economy, and cattle was a chief form of wealth, and the wealthy person was called as Gomat. Again, you have to use these kind of keywords too. You have to use these kind of keywords. You have to use these kind of keywords to get more marks, and that is what separates a good answer from an excellent answer. Okay, so gifts, like I told you, priests were receiving gifts. That is the reason inequality was emerging, and that cattle, the gifts were given in the form of cattle only, because cattle is the chief form of wealth, and the gifts were called as Bali, okay, and Dana and Dakshina. Okay, Bali is given to Kshatriyas, okay, and Dana and Dakshina was given to priestly classes. Okay, and in this Rigvedic society, and there was a war, there were wars were conducted to increase their particular wealth, and these wars were also given different terms: Gavishti, Gavyu, Gaveshana. Okay, so because it was a pastoral economy and there was less agriculture, trade was not developed. Okay, trade was not developed, and there was no importance given to property. There was no importance of agricultural fields over here, and that is the reason there was no concept of private property, because private property concept emerged when the agriculture was growing. When agriculture is important, when you are attaching importance to that particular land, and that is when the private property concept will emerge too. So this is Rigvedic simple economy. So again, various points. So you could have used even one keyword you could have been used to construct your answer to 150 words. Okay, that is pastoral or one crop economy, we can say. Okay, so that is nomadic. That is nomads because they were moving from one place to another place. Again, this cultivation was shifting cultivation. It was not permanent cultivation. It was shifting cultivation, and they move with their cattle, and they used to clear the forest in this particular region and then bring that land under cultivation. But it was very crude. It was in the beginning stages. This is the Rigvedic economy. And then again, the economy of later Veda. Now, economy of later Veda start to becoming more advanced. His reason is that now the discovery of iron happened, and that iron it can be used in agriculture. Iron can be used in agriculture, and this agriculture, rather the application of this iron in agriculture happened in Ganga Valley, which is fertile valley. Okay, so look at how the geography is influencing the changes of economy. How the geography is influencing the changes of economy, and that is the reason private property concept emerged. Like I told you, in Rigvedic times there was no private property concept, and now there is a concept of private property, because now the people are attaching importance to that particular land where they were residing. Okay, so now it is the first instant of using iron in Indian history. So that is the reason later Vedic age is also called as Iron Age culture. Like we use the term ayas for either copper or bronze during Rigvedic times, and now another term is used in later Vedas, that is the Krishna ayas or Shyama ayas in Yajurveda and Atharvaveda. These references are there in Yajurveda and Atharvaveda. Again, when you use these kind of terms to prove your point, you can't just say that economy was growing in later Veda, economy was backward in Rigveda, but how that economy was backward, how the economy was growing, you have to use certain points. Okay, you have to use certain facts to prove your arguments. Okay, and that Shyama ayas means actually the dark metal. Okay, dark metal, and we have the evidences of this metal being found from places like Atranjikera and Jekera in across northern India. And one more important aspect of the economy of later Veda is that one, there is a discovery of new kind of pottery, because pottery goes back to Neolithic times, black and grey ware, and then ochre color pottery during Chalcolithic times, and then again black and red ware during IVC times. Now in later Vedic times, one more pottery that came into existence, that is PGW, that is painted grey ware. Okay, painted grey ware. Okay, and this pottery has been found with iron. Okay, so that is the reason it is an iron phase. So there are three phases of Indian history, or entire world history. Wherever you study history, that is from the beginning, it can be divided into three phases. That is Stone Age, Bronze Age, and then again the Iron Age. So this is the iron phase. This is the iron phase in Indian history too. And because the economy was growing, now the agriculture is growing, and now there is metal. There is a new kind of revolutionary metal. Iron is always considered as a revolutionary metal because it unleashed far-reaching changes on that particular economy too. Now arts and crafts started to grow. Okay, arts and crafts, we can say small industries. You can say that is local artisans and craftsmen started to grow. Like examples, ironsmiths. Now we require certain professionals to make iron tools, which had the applications in agriculture in a fertile lands. And then again, iron again led to growth of carpenters, and a lot of cattle wealth was there. Leather making was growing, and like I told you, that is pottery. A new kind of pottery came into being, and that the pottery making is a new profession. And in these later Vedas, certain references are there for sea journey, that is sea voyage. Mention of sea is there, mention of sea voyages are there. That is not there in the Rig Veda, and that is the reason we have the evidences of shipbuilding also. If they are making sea voyages, obviously we can definitely expect what kind of profession should be there. Shipbuilding profession should be there, and that again represents some kind of growing tendency of trade also. If sea voyage is there, so look at that Rigvedic economy, simple, one crop. Pastoral, nomadic, they move from one place to another place. In later Veda, okay, that is a permanent agricultural place, permanent agricultural lands, we can say, that is in Gangetic Valley. Okay, so there is, and that permanent agriculture led to growth of certain arts and crafts, and that arts and crafts led to growth of the rudimentary beginning of commerce and trade. So it is just a beginning. It is just a beginning, and this beginning led to explosion of this arts and craft in the post-Vedic times. That is after later Vedas. That later Vedas ends at around 600 BC. But 600 BC onwards, we talk about something called as Age of Buddha or Mahajanapadas, and that is also called as second urbanization. How Neolithic created a foundation for evolution of Indus Valley civilization. In the same way, the later Vedic times, it is a discovery of iron and a growing agriculture, rudimentary beginning. That is this young beginning of trade and commerce, and that led to further growth of trade and commerce and town life during the second urbanization time period. And we always associate trade and commerce with towns, right? So that is what rudimentary beginning of towns, trade and commerce. And how the economy transitioned from Rigvedic to later Vedic, simply rural, semi-urban right now became. So it was a rural economy during the Rigvedic, and now it became rural to semi-urban. So because it's just the beginning, it is creating the foundation for next time period. Okay, so this is how the transition from early Vedic to later Vedic happened. Okay, so you can further, how do you conclude this one? And this perceptible change in society and economy further consolidated during the post-Vedic times, and that continued for over a longer period of time too. And particularly the later Vedic times economy had a huge influence on the evolution of the second urbanization in Indian history, that is after 600 BC. That is how you could have concluded. Okay, so I know I have given so many points. So all these points definitely help you to write better answers. So these points with some keywords, you can use all these points to restrict your answer to 150 words too. Okay, so this is about the first question, that is the how the changes happened in society as well as economic sphere in Rig Veda as well as later Veda. Second question, Again, these are again repeated out of the PYQ themes in art and culture. That is, estimate the contribution of Pallavas of Kanchi for the development of art and literature of South India. Again, pretty much direct. Okay, pretty much direct question. Now you introduce history. Again, you can write either background or any current affairs related or any kind of factual aspects you can write in your introductions. Now in this introduction, I would have started with the date of this Pallavas 275 to 897 C, and the ruling area is called as Tondai Mandalam. That's majorly we can say talk about major portion of Deccan and particularly the deep south, that is in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so that is where because Pallavas sometimes even extended their rule until Badami also, because they defeated Chalukyas of Badami, and this Pallavas played a crucial role in the evolution of southern Indian history, and at the same time the heritage, particularly the cultural heritage. Okay, that cultural heritage, particularly in the field of we can say architecture. Okay, the evolution of temple architecture in South India. Okay, so which is called as Dravida architecture. So that played a huge important role from the time period of the Pallavas. So simple introduction, their time period 275 to 897, and then again the ruling area and how it is contributed to the emergence of the southern culture. Okay, now contribution to art. This contribution to art, that is like I told you, it's the beginning of Dravida school, Dravida style of temple architecture. We have three styles of temple architecture in India. That is Nagara, okay, and that is northern Indian part. Okay, then in Dravida, which is South India, and a mixture of both these two led to the emergence of Vesara style, which is we can say Deccan region. Okay, particularly Karnataka, that is Badami and Haivale and Pattadakal. Okay, so that is the reason where Vesara style emerged. But just sticking to this particular question, so the Dravida style of temple architecture, that is the beginning. That beginning, like Nagara style of architecture, how it began during the time period of the Guptas, the Dravida style of architecture began during the time period of the Pallavas, and they reached its climax by the time of the Cholas. Okay, climax by the time of the Cholas, we can say. So again, that question is also asked. That question again, that is related question. We will discuss that one, that also, and where this particular art and architecture was developing, particularly geographical region, we can say that south of the river Tungabhadra, that is one of the tributaries of Krishna, and this Dravidian architecture. So where it was developing, particularly one place is also World Heritage Site, that is the Mahabalipuram. Okay, Mahabalipuram, developed at stages in Mahabalipuram. So there are different stages for there under different kings of Pallavas. Again, this question we covered in our all these points we covered in our PEP class actually. So these are the prelims in prelims classes what we have covered. So that kind of points we can use in writing mains answers also. Okay, so this is 4 stages we can talk about. That is the Mahendravarman group is the first king, one of the major, not the first king, but one of the major kings. That is during this point of time there was only mandapas for them. Okay, so just a simple beginning, just one simple mandapa, and that mandapa was cut out of rocks. Only assembly hall. Okay, so this is what Mahendravarman group represents. And in second stages, that's Narasimhavarman, who is the son of Mahendravarman, and now rock cut temples with intricate sculptures. The more sculptural elements got added. You see, more sculptural elements got added. And in third stage, that it can be called as Rajasimha group or Narasimhavarman second group. Now the stone temples, or we can say structural temples, started to be built. Okay, like example, Shore temple. Okay, that is one of the example that is built by Rajasimha. Okay, then again Kailashna temple again built by Rajasimha, that is in Kanchi. Shore temple is in Mahabalipuram. Okay, Shore temple is in Mahabalipuram. So these represents the different group of temples. This represents different group of temples and in different stages how it evolved during the Pallavas. Again, you can't just say that is Pallavas contributed greatly to the evolution of art and architecture, but you have to prove that. You have to prove your argument with some kind of facts too. Okay, so that is what these facts represent. And again, the 4th stage of the Dravida architecture would be developed by with some variations under the Cholas, and that is the zenith, that is the peak. That is the peak of Dravidian architecture. Again, further changes happened under Vijayanagara times also, but overall, we can say the Cholas represented the climax of the Dravidian architecture. But for Cholas to further develop it, who contributed, who created the foundation? It is the Pallavas. It is the Pallavas who created the foundation for evolution of Dravidian style of architecture at a place called Mahabalipuram, which can also be called as Mamallapuram. Okay, and then okay, I already mentioned they are instrumental in transition from rock cut temples to ultimately to stone temple. There is a huge stone temples that started to build by the time of third group we can say, or the third stage we can say, or by the time of the Cholas also. And their contribution to art, like you can mention about certain sculptural reliefs. Okay, in sculpture we talked about the architecture, so where it started to emerge, the temple architecture, and now we come to sculpture. And these sculptures we can see particularly again in Mamallapuram, that is Pancharathas, also called as Pandavarathas. Okay, this can also be seen at Mahabalipuram. Again, most of the things what I have mentioned here, all of them can be found at Mahabalipuram. Okay, all of them are Mahabalipuram. Again, they are World Heritage Site in 1984. I've given certain examples of these rathas. Okay, so that Pancha Pandava rathas were named after the honor of the Pancha Pandavas and Draupadi also, and each rathas were dedicated to certain god. And these are very unique rathas, ordered to be built by Narasimhavarman I. Okay, and he also ordered the sculpture of Arjuna's penance, also called Descent of the Ganges, where Arjuna is seen to be our sage Bhagirath, according to certain historians, according to certain belief it is Arjuna who is doing penance to get that powerful Pashupatastra. Okay, and Arjuna stopping the Ganges through his interlocking of his ears. So these kind of relief structures we can see. Okay, relief structures we can see over there, and this is again built on the orders of Narasimhavarman. Okay, Narasimhavarman I, because he wanted to commemorate this Arjuna's penance or descent of Ganges. It was to commemorate the victory over Pulikeshi's II. Okay, to celebrate victory over Pulikeshi's II of Badami Chalukyas. Pulikeshi's II of Badami Chalukyas. Okay, so again, when you have the conceptual clarity in its entirety, that is when you are going to write good answers too. Okay, so you can't just write quite generally. So you have to be very, very specific in giving the examples. And other examples, Krishna's Butterball, Varaha Mantapa and Trimurti Temple, and because of their massive importance culturally, so it has been designated as UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1984. Again, the reason why I would say the question paper was quite easy, particularly I would say history questions were easy, provided you are prepared well, and that is because of lot of examples were there, lot of factual aspects were there. Even if you could have mentioned 1 or 2 examples out of all these facts what I have been mentioning, I think you could have scored really well. Okay, you could have scored really well over here. So that is what contribution to art, Dravida style of architecture, then contribution to art, particularly to sculpture. Now literature, you can mention certain aspects of it, particularly Mahendravarman again. He is known for writing this Matta Vilasa Prasanam, and there is both Sanskrit literature as well as Tamil literature were given massive patronage. And then again, some people associate with him Guptas also, but majorly under Pallavas. So Kavyadarsha and Dashakumara Charita, another book he wrote. Okay, and particularly during this point of time, the one kind of social revolution we would say that was happening, particularly at the local level, that is the Bhakti movement was growing. So again, it is the foundation of Bhakti movement. Okay, so that Bhakti movement foundation happened to the writings of certain saints, and the saints can be called as Nayanars. Okay, so I think, sorry, spelling mistake is there, Nayanars, and then again Alvars, and it's Nayanars for Shaiva saints and Alvars are Vaishnava saints. Okay, and they use the local languages, the local language to preach their bhakti and to preach their teachings. They use the local language, that is Tamil. Particularly the Shaiva Nayanars composed one book called as Devaram books, and again Vishnu saints, they composed one book called as Nalayira Divya Prabandham. So this is the beginning of Bhakti movement, I would say. So that is how much contribution of Pallavas is there. That Bhakti movement later spread to across South India, and later with the help of Ramanujacharya, Ramananda, Kabir, Nanak, so that spread to Northern India too. Okay, again, once great center of learning, very great center of learning, that is University of Kanchi. It was say great center of learning as well as intellectualism. And again, some of the inscriptions of Pallavas that shows how much interest were there in music during that point of time too. And the musical inscription can be called as Kudu Miyanmalai as well as Tirumayam. So these are some of the musical inscriptions that belong to Pallavas time period. So then again, one more book we can talk about, Bhagavata Ajikiyam in Sanskrit. Okay, again this is also in Sanskrit. Matta Vilasa Prasam is also in Sanskrit. So this is the literature contributions of Pallavas. Okay, we talked about the architectural contribution, we talked about the sculptural contribution, we talked about the literature contribution, and then and how you could have ended that with some kind of conclusion is that one, that is a Pallavas, the development, they create the foundation particularly for the further growth of Bhakti movement, further growth of architecture under Cholas, and the further growth of literature, particularly under other families of Tamil Nadu, we can say. Okay, so this is about the Pallavas contribution, the second question. And third question, again pretty much that, what were the events that led to the Quit India movement? Point out the result in 150 words, 10 marker, that was also 10 marker. These first 3 questions, so what we are discussing, it's about all the 10 markers too. Again, I have given many points. I might be exceeding 150 words over here, but you could have used, the idea I'm trying to present here is that one, this is the, these kind of examples what you could have used to write your answers. So you don't have to think too much. If you use too many if you know many examples, you could have written quite easy answers. So within 4 or 5 minutes, you could have written one question. Okay, so you don't have to spend the standard limit of 7 to 8 minutes per question. So if you know the content well, if you know many examples, if you know the background of the topic well, when you have understood the topic in its entirety, that is when you are going to write good answers. So that is always the run behind knowing the topic really well. So why the topic? Why that particular event happened? What is the background of the topic? What is the impact? What happened of the topic? So history is quite simple. That's the event is happening, why that event is happening, and what is the further development of that event happened. When you have the 3-fold understanding, no? So that is when history questions starting to become, when history questions becomes a lot more easier. Okay, so now third question, very easy, modern India. So that is art and culture, we can say, ancient and art and culture. The first one also, we can say ancient India, how the society and economy was changing. And this is slightly, I would say that is probably the easiest of all the questions that was asked in history. So introduction, you can start with how the Quit India movement was the last great mass movement of India, because the first movement was, we can say, it started from Swadeshi, we can talk about, okay, that is in 1905, okay, and then again we talk about non-cooperation movement, 1920 to 1922, then again civil disobedience movement, 1930 to 34, okay, and last great movement was in August 1942, that is in that is the Quit India movement. Okay, it is also part of the Gandhian phase of Indian national movement. It can be divided into 3 phases: the overall freedom movement, that's a moderate phase, the extremist phase, as well as the Gandhian phase. Moderate phase from 1885 to 1905, the extremist phase from 1905 to 1919, and Gandhian phase from 1919 to 1927. That is the first part of the first aspect of Gandhian phase from 1927 to 1947. The second aspect of the Gandhian phase. The overall phase would be from 1919 to 1947. Okay, and now how Indian freedom movement was progressing. Like when you talk about in 1885, it was just a mere demand that we need more greater autonomy within the British Empire. So there was no revolutionary concept of asking for full independence, because the full independence started when revolutionaries started asking for full independence, and officially that was accepted by the Indian National Congress at Lahore session in 1929. Jawaharlal Nehru was the president. So now it is just beginning as a greater autonomy. That is how the beginning started, and by 1942 Indians were asking the Britishers to quit India. Okay, so Indian national movement had come a long way, especially from 1885 to by 1942 we can talk about. So within a span of, let's say, 42 plus 15, that is around 57 years of age. So 57 years of our movement. So it has evolved hugely. Okay, so this is the introduction you can talk about. That is the when we talked about, we gave the importance of Quit India movement, how Indian national movement was progressing, and which phase it came into being. At the same time, which year the Quit India movement was launched, to August 1942. Now, what are the factors? That is a direct question, right? That is, what were the events that led to the Quit India movement? Okay, so again, you could have used all these points or some of these points. So I would have started from this particular, giving the because it is a mass movement. So I would have given the background about the last mass movement. That is, the last mass movement was civil disobedience movement from 1930 to 34, and again 36, 37 elections happened. So now the Indians had the taste of power. They established their rule, which is called as the Congress ministries in 11 provinces of the British India. Okay, 11 provinces, and now Indians got that ability that they can govern themselves. That gave them the confidence to ask the Britishers to quit India. So before that, what? Before that, that is, they felt like we need the help of the Britishers to run our administration. We will stay within the British Empire. But later times, what happens is when the Indians acquired that ability that they can govern themselves. Okay, so that is portrayed in 1936-37. And then again, the major world event happened. That is September 1939. The Second World War was broke out when Hitler invaded Poland. And the 1st September 1939, the world plunged into the Second World War. And now there was doubt within the INC whether to launch the mass movement, whether to support the Britishers' efforts in Second World War, and that created a lot of debate within the Indian National Congress, and that can be called as a right versus left debate. That is a right versus debate. The right was led by, we can say, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, then again Mahatma Gandhi, okay, and then again left debate was led by Subhash Chandra Bose, Achyut Patwardhan, okay, so many people were there. Okay, so that led to ideological conflict. Again, people portrayed as personal conflict, which is not true. So it was an ideological conflict, whether we should take the advantage of British position to launch the mass movement and to get the freedom as soon as possible. And that led to kind of conflicts at Tripuri sessions over the presidentship, that is Subhash Chandra Bose and Pattabhi Sitaramaya. Okay, Pattabhi Sitaramaya. So that you could have written. Then Indian National Congress came to the conclusion that at Ramgarh session, not many people would have heard about this particular Ramgarh session in Jharkhand in 1940. Maulana Abul Kalam was the president, and they decided that mass movement, if the situation necessitates, we are going to launch the mass movement. As of now, we are not going to launch the mass movement because we are building into launching of Quit India movement. There was a debate within the Indian National Congress where it went to launch that movement. It was just a matter of time. So that is in Ramgarh session, they took the decision when the situation warrant, then we are going to launch another mass movement, because the mass movements are the feature of Indian national movement. Through mass movements only we won our freedom too. The Swadeshi movement is a mass movement. Non-cooperation movement is a mass movement. Home Rule League movement was a mass movement. Okay, and then we talk about civil disobedience movement is mass movement. It was very highly successful movements too. Okay, highly successful movements. Then ultimately through mass movements only India won our independence. And then when the greater mass movement was not possible during that point in time, so Indians launched a limited satyagraha against the British war policies, utilizing freedom of speech and expression, like Vinoba Bhave. Okay, then again Sarojini Naidu, then again Jawaharlal Nehru, they used limited satyagraha. Okay, and during this point of time, in the Second World War, the Britain was incurring a lot of losses, even in Europe also, as well as in Asia also too. Because Asia, one of the Britain's adversary was Japan. Okay, in Asia, Britain's adversary was Japan. In England, it was Germany. Okay, as well as Italy. So they were inflicting a lot of defeat on the Britishers. And now Japan was decimating the Britishers in Asia, and it was moving towards India. Japan, after conquering Koreas, and then again China, and then again moving towards South China, some parts, not entire China, some parts of China, and moving towards we can say Indochina, and then again towards Myanmar. So it was already threatening to enter India. And during that point of time, there was a pressure on British government. That is the Britain government we are talking about. That's particularly the allies of Britain, the USA, France, and every other government. They put the pressure on British to get the support of Indians to defeat Japanese in India, because Indians were not officially supporting the war policy, but only the Indian army was being used by the Britishers, because army was under the command of the British government. But Indian people as a whole, Indian leadership as a whole, so they did not support the British war efforts. Okay, so now USA put pressure on the Britain to get the support of Indians to defeat Japan. And now the Britain agreed to negotiate with the Indians about what kind of political feature India should have. So that is the reason they sent the Cripps mission in 1942. They sent Cripps mission in 1942, that is Stafford Cripps. And now in this negotiation between British government mission led by Cripps and Indian leaders, and what are the proposals put forward by Cripps? It failed to satisfy the Indian needs, because Cripps proposals, it was encouraging division. Okay, it was encouraging communalism. Okay, and it was against democratic principles, because it provided for nomination of members rather than election. Okay, it provided nomination of members for in Constituent Assembly, because Indians were demanding for Constituent Assembly to draft a new constitution. Indians were demanding the members of the Constituent Assembly should be elected, but Cripps proposal were with respect to nomination of the members. So Indians, we can say, overtly rejected their particular proposals. And there is a very famous statement of Mahatma Gandhi, that is a Cripps proposal with respect to Cripps proposal, that he said it's a post-dated check of a crushing bank. And that is the exact words used by Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, and hence when the Cripps proposals failed to satisfy Indian nationalist leaders, the nationalist aspirations of Indian leaders, and that is when the Quit India was launched. Okay, with the motto, that is do or die. Okay, Goalia tank. Okay, Varda resolution. Okay, so that you could have written 1 or 2 points over that one. So this is the background. I came from 30 to 34 just by writing one sentences. Probably you could have started, some people could have started from Second World War. Okay, some people could have started from limited satyagraha. Okay, some people could have directly started from Cripps proposals also. Okay, so that is how, when you have the entirety understanding of this particular topic, you can definitely write good answers. So always try to go run behind, not just in history, in any other question, any other subjects also. So to know the topic in its entirety. So we have that to have that passion of knowing that particular topic really well, whether science and technology or agriculture or even economy, okay, so polity, geography, environment, okay, so history. So when you have that passion, when you know the topic in its entirety in a comprehensive manner, you can write really good answers, okay, and you will start enjoying writing answers. So it is one of the most difficult aspects for aspirants to carry forward. Okay, so this is the factors that led to quit India. And the second aspect of the question, that talking about the results of that one, you can just write in briefly that movement course is with spontaneous violence and sabotage and underground movement. Why it was led to violence? Because all the leaders got arrested. Britishers knew they are going to launch quit India movement. Gandhiji gave that resolution of do or die. So now all the leaders were arrested. Now the people left with no leaders. It was leaderless. And now the people reacted violently, and that led to sabotage of infrastructure, okay, and even assassinations and killings of British officials, okay. And that is infrastructure means we are talking about that is sabotaging railway lines, telegraph lines, British buildings. So all these were destroyed, okay. And because all these were destroyed, so because it was a violence response, Britishers also responded violently, and now that led to underground movement. That is secret movement. They secretly carrying forward the movement. Some leaders like we can talk about J.P. Narayan, and then again we talk about Usha Mehta. Okay, so many Aruna Asaf. So many leaders contributed for growth of Quit India movement, kept the Quit India movement secretly through underground movement too. Now, particular results what we can talk about. Now, Indian national movement, like I told you, it began as a demand for a greater autonomy. Okay, and now Britishers understood after Quit India that then they no longer can rule over India. Okay, and one of the three pillars of British support in India was civil services, police, and army. So when you look at British administration, the Britishers ran their administration with the help of civil service, police, and then again army, which are called as the three pillars of British administration. And now all these three pillars, they went against Britishers. So now Britishers can no longer rely on the support of civil services, police and army, because even police officials, army contingents, okay, civil servants, they are all turned against the Britishers. They no longer can bank upon their support. Okay, that is the reason no Indian support for their emperors, because how the Britishers occupied India through the support of Indian mercenary armies, with the support of Indian mercenary armies, and now there is no support forthcoming. Okay, and now what Indians can accept, because after every movement got over, there were certain kind of concessions were kept on giving. Okay, after Swadesh movement, 1909 Act was passed. After Home Rule League movement, 1919 Act was passed. Okay, and then again after non-cooperation movement, Simon Commission was sent. Okay, so after we can say civil disobedience movement, 1935 Act was passed. Okay, now Indians were not ready to accept that kind of minuscule political concession, but rather they need nothing but independence. The only negotiations India are going to have is when Britishers are going to transfer their power back to Indians. Okay, and that is the reason. So that is the reason that all the leaders, when Quit India movement, or rather when the Second World War getting over by 1944-45, because the results were written on the wall, Germany was losing, Italy was losing, Japan was losing. So in 1944-45, so all the leaders who got arrested before the launch of the Quit India movement, they were released, and through that way negotiations started. Okay, and then cabinet mission was sent in 1946, and Attlee made his statement in February 1947, and Mountbatten plan in June 1947. So ultimately India achieved independence. That is, it fastened the independence of India. So that is the major results of Quit India movement we can talk about. Okay, so again, one of the easiest of questions you could have written, because modern history, Quit India movement, you could have read so many times, both from the prelims perspective as from the mains perspective. This is the easiest questions, I would say. Okay, next one, fourth one, almost similar to the Pallavas, the Inatan culture. That is, though the great Cholas are no more yet, their name is still remembered with great pride because of their highest achievements in the domain of art and architecture. Okay, comment, that is in 250 words. So this is a 15 marker. So introduction, again you can just write over where the Cholas were ruling over in the fertile lands of Kaveri Valley, and then again their origin goes back to Sangam times also, right? The three families we talk about in Sangams. Okay, that is the Cholas, Cheras, okay, Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas. Okay, and now these Cholas we are talking about is the medieval Cholas, who can also be called as the imperial Cholas, the royal Cholas, the Royal Imperial Maritime Cholas, Okay, the thing is that one, that is they had great navy and they expanded their empire not just in India, they expanded outside India also. They conquered Sri Lanka and they expand their empire into Malaya region as well as Indonesia region, and that is the reason they are called as maritime imperial Cholas, and they rule between 1848 to 1279. Okay, so now what we have to talk about in Cholas is that one and their contribution to art and architecture, 848 to 1279. Again, the architecture is like we talked about in Pallavas. Again, similar interrelations are there. Pallavas started the Dravida style. The beginning of the Dravida style happened at Mahabalipuram. Okay, at Mahabalipuram, and that style reached its peak. Okay, its zenith, its climax under the time period of the Cholas. Okay, now how it started at Mahabalipuram during the time period of Pallavas, it is just at different stages, rock cut, sculptures, then again standalone temples, and now that standalone temples started to have many features which developed during the time period of the Cholas. Like the boundary walls were constructed, which can also be called as prakara. Okay, the boundary walls. Okay, that can be called. Then again Vimana over Garbhagriha. Okay, Vimana, which can be called as Shikara under Nagara style. Okay, over Garbhagriha, which can also be called Sanctum Sanctorium, okay, where the chief deity is placed. Again Gopuram, which is gateway. Okay, Gopuram, which is gateway. Entrance, okay, gateway, and that's in pyramid style. Okay, that's in pyramid style. You can give the example, that is say Brihadeshwara temple. Okay, Brihadeshwara temple at Tanjavur, also called as Periya Kovil. Okay, then Antarala, it is the place between Garbhagriha and the Mantapa. Okay, between Garbhagriha and Mantapa. Mantapa is the place where devotees are placed, where devotees pray to the god. Okay, and then pillared hall within the temple complexes, because that is one of the unique features of the Dravidian style of architecture, that is having putting the temples within the temple complex, that is within the boundary walls, and along with that boundary walls we can have pillared halls where devotees can use that. Okay, devotees can use that pillar halls around the temples. Okay, and step tanks, that is also one of the unique features of Dravidian style. In Nagara style we don't see this boundary walls time except in Kalinga architecture. In Kalinga architecture we can see that one. And in step tanks, that is also one of the unique features where you place certain we can say, which can also be called as Kalyanis. That is also one of the unique features of Vijayanagara styles also. Okay, that is step tanks with water storage. And another feature is that one, the sculptures at the entrance of the Garbhagriha hall, that is on the door panels of Garbhagriha. So this is how the architecture was started to evolve. So they were started to become very big and elaborate. Very big and elaborate, which can be seen from very greater distances. Okay, which is beginning at Pallavas, and now look at the different features that was evolving under the Cholas. Almost, I would say the both questions were interrelated. The Dravidian style of architecture reached its ultimate peak. Okay, ultimate peak. And now we can give the examples of temple complexes, and these three temple complexes, and they are called as Chola temples, or we can say Great Living Chola temples, and they also accorded UNESCO World Heritage Site also. UNESCO World Heritage Site. And you can give the example of Tanjavur temple, which is completely built out of granite and built by Rajaraja Chola, and Gangaikonda Cholapuram, another very famous temple. So built by Rajendra Chola to commemorate his victory over Pallavas. Okay, it defeated Pallavas in Ganga Valley. Okay, that is the reason it is called as what? Gangaikonda Cholapuram. Then again, one more temple in and around, that is Airavateshwara temple, that is in Kumbakonam in Tanjavur district. Okay, that is built by Rajaraja Chola II in 12th century. So these are the examples of architectural contributions of Cholas, and because of their architectural contribution, because of their great heritage, so now it has been given the status of UNESCO World Heritage Site. Again, you can combine that with little bit of modern aspect of that particular topics too. So these three temples you could have given. It's also Periya Kovil, it means the bigger temple, big temple, Brihadeshwara temple, also called as Raja Rajeshwara temple, and this Gangaikonda Cholapuram also called as Rajeshwara temple. Why these names are used? Raja Rajeshwaram temple, that is built by Rajaraja Chola, and Rajeshwara temple built by Rajendra. Reason why even the king's name also given to the temples is the Cholas had the habit of installing their own idols, along with the idols of deities. They used to install the idols of the king who is being built that who is building the temple, and the queen's idol also, and that is the reason that names king's name were also used in to name that particular temple also. Okay, so Rajarajeshwara temple, that is Rajaraja Chola. Then Rajeshwara temple, Rajendra Chola. And that is also one of the unique features of Chola architecture, because along with the chief deity, they used the idols of the kings also. Okay, and then very important thing that is recently it was in news also, that is the bronze sculpture of bronze sculptures of Cholas. And these bronze sculptures, particularly one example you could have given is that one, the Nataraja sculpture, which used lost wax technique, that is Sirepirdu. First you make that sculpture out of wax, then you cover that with a clay, and then you make a bowl, heat that, wax will drain out, and now the hollow mold is left. To that hollow mold, you pour the hot metal liquid, and that is called Sirepirdu or lost wax technique. And this is a Nataraja sculpture is related to Lord Shiva. Again, Cholas were the patrons of Shaivism. Most of the temples were dedicated to Lord Shiva, and Shiva is the cosmic dancer. And now we just explain what that Nataraja sculpture, what exactly that represents. That upper right hand, okay, what it symbolizes, that is the sound. Upper left hand, that is the fire, that means represents the destruction. The lower right hand with the Abhaya Mudra, that granting protection. And lower left hand point towards the foot, that is a downward, which means salvation. Then it also portrays the Ardhanarishwara aspect of Shiva, because one ear as a male earring and the other as the female earring. And the snake represents, we can say, the Kundalini power to arise the consciousness. So you could have used this one also. So one is architecture, other one is sculpture, particularly the Nataraja sculpture. Recently it was in news too. Okay, so this is another contribution, because you have 250 marks, right? Sorry, 250 words, 15 marker. So you have a lot of leeway to write more points about these topics. And literature, particularly Kamban. Okay, so you wrote Ramavataram, popularly known as Tamil Ramayana or Kamban Ramayana, under Kulotunga III, and he also wrote Saraswati Antati, or rather than again Sekirar, who wrote Periya Puranam. It's a 12th century Tamil epic on the lives of Nayanars. Like we talked about Nayanars, right? That is Bhakti teachings, the Bhakti saints teaching, which started during the Pallavas time period. Again, further development of that Bhakti, movement over there. That is the Periya Puranam. It's a 12th century Tamil epic on the lives of 63 Nayanars. That is the saints. That is, these are, we can say, Nayanars are Shaiva Nayanars. Okay, Shaiva Nayanars, 63 Shaiva Nayanars during the time period of Kulotunga Chola II. And they gave majorly patronage to Tamil scholars, and some Buddhism also. That is a grammarian Buddha Mitra. Okay, so wrote Tamil grammar on Virosalium. It is called as Virosalium. And lastly, Nannul is another Chola era work, and that is ascribed to Pavananthi Munivar. So some of the examples you could have used, the literature contributions of Cholas. And another important unique features about Cholas is that they took Indian culture outside India also, particularly when they invaded Shailendra Empire, Malaya Empire, okay, then again Indonesia. Okay, so there also we can see the Hindu cultural influences found today throughout the Southeast Asia. Particularly temple complex in Indonesia, the temple complex called as Prambanan. Okay, so that is again the direct influence of Chola's overlordship over that particular regions too. So that is how, even though Cholas are not, that is what the exactly question says, that even though Cholas are not yet there, but their culture is, their legacy is being continued, not just in India, even outside India also. Okay, outside India too. And one more, Kanchipuram silks. According to certain theories, it is patronized by Rajaraja Chola, Rajaraja I, and that is a continuing legacy even today also, very famous silks. Okay, so finally, conclusion, their contribution have not only shaped the cultural history of South India, but also continue to inspire artists and architects around the world. Simple conclusions too. Okay, so a lot of scope for writing a lot of actually factual aspects in your answers too. Okay, so not just vague statements, but rather that substance filled statements you could have written this time. Okay, and then the fifth question, how far is it to correct world history? Again, it was not given that much importance last couple of years, but this time again picked up. How far is it correct to say that the First World War was fought essentially for the preservation of balance of power? Okay, this is 250 words. Okay, this is completely 250 words. Again, there is a lot of scope, lot of analysis is there in this particular question too. Again, this is we covered in our rapid revision. So introduction, how do you start? So that is 1914, 28 June, with the assassination of Franz Ferdinand at a place called Sarajevo by a Serbian national, Gavrilo Princip. And because of that one, Austria gave an ultimatum to Serbia. And July 28th, 1914, the World War began. No, or rather, Austria attacked Serbia. So that led to, we can say, that change in the character of that war, just between from Austria to Serbia. It started to spread across the world too. How it spread to across it? Because it's mainly a continental affair. But when Germany in favor of Austria invaded Belgium, the Belgian city of Liège, that is the first major engagement, and that is the first major reason for this war turning into a world war. Because when Germany invaded Liège, the Belgian city, the England had to intervene, because England was the guarantor of the Belgian independence or the Belgian protection, or they were guaranteed the protection for Belgium particularly, and that agreement was the way back in 1830. Okay, way back in 1830, after the July Revolution of 1830, the Belgium became independent from Netherlands, and now there was a conference in London. In that conference, Britain government said that one, we are going to protect Belgium, and now Belgium got invaded by Germany, and now England had to intervene, and that created what we can call it as the Great War, a new era in European and world history that changed the course of the entire world history. So this is one introduction you could have written. So with some facts, like how the World War began, and what were the issues at play, and how that war became a world war. Okay. Now we will come to the analysis aspect of whether it was related to balance of power, or whether any other factors at work. Okay, whether any factors at work with respect to how this First World War was, what were the major causes of this First World War II. Okay, so it is marking a beginning of new era in European and world history too. Okay, so now what are the general causes, and also how the general causes were related to the balance of power. Okay, what is the balance of power? That is making sure that no one country is becoming powerful. The other country is trying to balance. Okay, so make sure that balance is not tilting in favor of them, like in Cold War. So USA and USSR, so they're trying to balance each other. They had one country got nuclear weapons, the balance was not in favor. Other country got nuclear weapons, now there is a balance between, there is a parity between them. Then again, space race, USSR went very much further. Then again, USA caught up. So that is the balance of power, right? So they make sure that no one country is having too much of power. So how that balance of power is at work? So that you can go back to the German unification. So when this genesis of this war, you can go back to German unification way back in 1871. The same day, Germany also unified and Italy also unified. Okay, after the Franco-Prussian War, 1871, Otto von Bismarck, Napoleon III. So that was German unification. And after that one, now Germany won over. Now German Empire was established. Okay, German Empire was established, and Germany established empire directly in animosity with France. So there was this brewing hostility, new hostility between Germany and France, and to protect Germany from France's future aggression, probably that is the reason Bismarck thought, who is the we can say the person, the iron who brought the blood and iron policy, who led the German unification movement. Okay, so now he started this alliance system in 1871. So make sure that France is isolated, make sure France is not getting any kind of help, and that alliance system, now Germany brought Austria and Italy together, because Austria and Italy also had issues with France. So that is triple alliance happened. And now the balance of power is completely in favor of Germany, and that is the reason by 1907 France, England and Russia, they come together to balance the power. Okay, that is Germany, Italy and Austria, then again France, England and Russia. So it can be called as entity cordial. Okay, that's cordial relationships between Russia, England as well as France by 1907. And now this alliance system, the growing of alliance system since 1871, okay, since the German unification, and that alliance system made the war inevitable, we can say, according to some historians would say. So that is a two armed camps, and within this alliance system what was growing is the military race also. Okay, to achieve that military superiority, to achieve that military, particularly submarine or naval race between Germany and England. Okay, by 1906 England bought a new battleship. Okay, so battleship, I would say, again sorry, spelling mistake, battleship, that is a dreadnought battleship, and that put England far ahead of other countries in their naval technology. Okay, that is also one of the reason. Again, trying to balance each other. Germany and Britain directly engaged in naval race. And then again, after 1871, again, a new two empires were created. That is the Italian Empire as well as the German Empire. Now they tried to occupy more and more colonies, because England was already a colonial master since they got India way back in 1757, 1764, Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar. Okay, and now Germany tried to occupy more and more colonies. Italy tried to occupy more and more colonies, and this colonial rivalry can be seen in Africa and the Far East. Now Japan jumped into it. Okay, then again Germany jumped into it. France jumped into it. Particularly the European colonialism can be seen in, which is also called as new imperialism or new colonialism or neo-colonialism in African land. Okay, it's also called a scramble for Africa. So many countries were vying together to get more and more territory. Again, if they feel like one country having more territory, they felt like their balance of power is shifted to that country. They want to balance their power. So this is how the balance of power is at work. And all these things ultimately led to First World War. That is the first aspect of our answer. Okay. And now naval agreement later between Russia and England made Germany suspicious and insecure in 1907. That's what, right? That is, they are coming together. One alliance, okay, against other alliance. So trying to balance each other. So balance of power definitely was at work. And then again, the balance of power, they tested their balance of power. Who is more powerful at Moroccan crisis of 1905 and Agadir crisis of 1911. Okay, Agadir again another city in Morocco, which is the north and northwestern part of Africa. So what is this Moroccan crisis? It is a crisis, or we can say it is an issue where Germany was against France, because France wanted to have greater control over Morocco, but Germany did not want to give any greater control over Morocco to France. Now Germany protested against France having control over Morocco. Okay, but England came to the help of France. So look at how this particular balance of power is at play. Okay, so that is one country taking stand against another country, but one more country coming to the help. Okay, in the same Morocco again, one more crisis developed in 1911. Okay, and now France took over certain aspects of the Moroccan administration. Now Germany sent a boat that is called as Panther boat. Okay, but England sent its navy. Now Panther boat was removed. Now Germany felt suspicious that French as well as English, so they are against German interest. Now Germany was also feeling suspicious because France, England, Russia coming together. Okay, particularly Germany, France and Russia. Okay, so Germany felt like England is encircling with France and Russia. Okay, so there is what the mutual suspicions, about the interests of the other countries, and these mutual suspicions so ultimately led to the First World War II. Okay, that balance of power definitely was at work. So one country trying to balance the other country. Okay, but these are not the only reasons. These are not the only reasons for First World War II. Because how far? The question is asking how far. The major reason, arguably the most dangerous situation for First World War was the Serbian nationalism. The Serbia was under the control of Austria-Hungary Empire. Okay, that was the Habsburg Empire, we can call it. Okay, so Austrian Empire, which can be called as Habsburg Empire. And this Habsburg Empire was just for a namesake. But this empire included many nationalities. Under it, many nationalities were there, because Austrians were different, Hungarians were different. Okay, Austrian language is different, Hungarian language is different. Under them, there were many different Slavic races were there. There is Slovaks, Czechs, Magyars, Poles, Serbs, Croats, and what particularly we can say Serbs and Croats, they want to establish Yugoslavia. Okay, Yugoslavia, and these people were ethnically related to Russia. Ethnically, they are far more related to Russia, and even religiously, they were far more related to Russia. Okay, because they believed in Greek Orthodox Christianity. Okay, Greek Orthodox Christianity. So there are a lot of things were at work, and now these Serbs and Croats were not given independence. They were under the control of Austria and Hungary. Okay, and there are certain events happened that led to increased Serbian hostility towards Austria. And that is what ultimately happened, that Serbian national Gavrilo Princip, he assassinated the Prince of Austria, which led to the First World War. Okay, so other causes keeping aside the balance of power causes what we have seen. So the major cause would be the Serbian nationalism. Okay, Serbian nationalism to become independent from the Austrian control. Okay, particularly the problem aggravated since the Bosnian crisis of 1908. Because what is this Bosnian crisis of 1908? Austria kept Bosnia because Bosnia was part of Turkish Empire. Turkish Empire was declining, so Austria kept Bosnia. But Bosnia had a lot of these Serbs are Slavic races people. Now Serbian hostility further increased. Okay, because it was against the wishes of the Serbs, to give Bosnia to Austrian control. It increased animosity towards Austria. It increased hostility towards Austria, and that is the reason way back in 1888, Otto von Bismarck, who contributed for or who led the German unification movement, so his famous words, that is, one day the great European war will come because of some damn foolish thing in the Balkans. So you can use this kind of quotes to write this answer. So he predicted way back in 1888, one day the great European war will come out of some damned foolish thing in the Balkans, and the damned foolish thing is assassination of Austrian prince by Serbian national Gavrilo Princip. Okay, so that is what Austria gave ultimatum to Serbia. Serbia did not respond. Now the war started. Because the Serbs are related to Russia, now Russia got involved. Okay, Germany was in favor of Austria because of that alliance system. Now Germany invaded Belgium. Now Belgium independence was guaranteed by England. England got involved. When England got involved, British Empire of India that got involved. So that is how it was a tragedy of miscalculation, according to some historians too. Okay, so this is the major reasons. The major reason, that is, you have to argue on both front. That is the balance of power, how one country tried to balance others with military race, naval race, mutual suspicion, with alliances, colonial rivalry, and along with the nationalism, the Serbian nationalism. Okay, that was also at play. This is the most dangerous cause of First World War, I would say. Okay, so, and even as said by the great man Bismarck, one day the great European war will come out of some damned foolish thing in the Balkans. This is in 1888. Okay, so that war happened in 1914. Okay, it predicted nearly 20 years earlier, 26 years earlier, I would say. Okay, so this is about the Serbian nationalism. And finally, conclusion you can say, that is preservation of balance of power was at play. Certainly a significant factor, but at the same time interrelated causes like other class like imperialism, nationalism, militarism, and specific events like Agadir crisis, Bosnian crisis. So all the specific events, Moroccan crisis, definitely contributed to the larger causes of the war. And particularly one specific cause was, that is the Serbia, okay, versus Austria, this nationalism. Okay, Serbia was Austria-Hungary. Okay, Austria-Hungary. So that contributed for the growth of, that contributed for the cause of First World War. Okay, so a lot of scope for analysis writing with some facts. And again, the last question, how far was the Industrial Revolution in England responsible for the decline of handicrafts and cottage industries in India? Okay, and the world history aspect we covered in our we can say ILP program. Okay, and this Industrial Revolution aspect we covered in the foundation program. So again, across our various programs of IS Baba, so we have covered these topics too. All the topics, so our 6 questions are there, all these topics we have covered. Even in some of the topics we covered in prelims program, that could have been used, that points could have been used to write the better, we can say mains answers too. Okay, so this is relating 2 topics actually. One is Industrial Revolution, it can be part of world history, okay, but majorly a modern history question, I would say, majorly modern history question, because they're directly asking about, there's only few mentions about Industrial Revolution you can make, but decline of handicrafts and cottage industries in India in 19th century, okay, 19th and 20th century. So that is what the major aspect of the question we have to talk about. So introduction, you can write about Industrial Revolution, when it is begun in 1760s, around 1760s. And what is Industrial Revolution? You can write a definition, that is how the agrarian economies were transitioned into industrial economy, particularly with the inventions of, we can say, the steam engine, okay, steam engine in 1765 by James Watt. And this Industrial Revolution further expanded, okay, especially by between 1780 and 1850. Started around the early part, that is 1760s, now further expansion by 1780 and 1850. And significant advances were done with respect to the production techniques. The production was increasing, we can say multifold, okay, multifold. And now because of this Industrial Revolution, Britain was growing as an industrial country, and because the production increased manifold, it had to find certain markets for its products, because inherently the England market was very small because of the population, because of the insularity. So it was an island country, so there was not much market. It wanted more markets, okay, for its product. When you say production is increasing. And second reason why it looked for new markets other than Europe is that because Europe was a bigger market for them, but Europe was during that point of time under the control of Napoleon Bonaparte, who was the emperor of France, especially after 1800s onwards. So now to defeat England, to bring England under his control, Napoleon devised a new kind of system called as the continental system, which is, we can say, economic sanctions against Britain. So now we influence all other continental European countries not to import from England. So now England merchants, England regional industries lost their market in Europe. And that led to opening up of Indian markets. Now there was a pressure on the British government by British merchants and industrialists to open up Indian market, because Indian market was under the monopolistic control of East India Company. Nobody could trade with India except East India Company. And that is the reason Charter Act of 1813 was passed, which provided for what is called as free trade. That is, anybody can export and import from India right now, because the monopoly to East India Company was given way back in 1600s, okay, and that was extended indefinitely from 1609 onwards, okay, and now there is a clamor for ending this monopoly, and now the Indian market was opened up. Okay, so now there is a lot of interrelation between world history as well as the modern history over here. So first we talked about how the world history is connected here, and then how the modern history is connected. Now we come to the second aspect of it, how this industrial revolution and the need for markets for the British industrial goods and the threat of Napoleon, who threatened British market in Europe and necessitated the Britishers to open up the Indian markets. Okay, so how industrial revolution in England impacted India. Now industrial revolution increased the production, needed market, and that is the reason Indian economy was based on traditional handicrafts and artisans. First we have to write a little bit about how Indian economy was based on. Indian economy was based on highly specialized products with both localized market as well as the external market, the export market. Okay, so particularly India was called as a sink of precious metals. Okay, especially in 17th and 18th century, sink of precious metals. Why? Because India was the manufacturing above the entire world. And India's share in the entire world GDP was around 24 to 25%. Okay, by the time of 1700s, India's contribution was like that one. India was exporting a lot. There was a lot of city economy. Towns were growing, and when India was exporting a lot, India was receiving bullion. That is precious metal, and that is gold and silver. Okay, gold and silver. So India was called as what? The sink of precious metal. That is how Indian economy was there. Okay, once industrial revolution happened in England, now they wanted markets. So now the British increased their export from their country. That increased the Indian imports. Now the cheap goods flooded Indian markets. And how these cheap goods? Because of the machine made, the volume of production was very greater. And on top of that one, India was governed by the British. The British Indian government was there, and now they kept the tariffs at low. Now they can export even cheaper without any custom duties or nothing like that one. Now it completely killed the competition as cheap goods entered Indian markets. Indian traditional goods, Indian traditional handicrafts, and they lost the market. Okay, they lost to the machine made competition. Okay, but when Indian finished products were exported, I told you they were highly specialized. When Indian goods were exported, but they were heavily taxed. And there were no tax on the British imports or the exports of Britishers and imports into India, and there are a lot of tax on Indian exports. So that can be called as one-way free trade. So these are the keywords you can use. That is one-way free trade. And this one-way free trade was there, especially started from the 1813 and continued until 1871, which can be called as period of industrial capitalism. Or free trade capitalism. As this was given by an historian, R.P. Dutt, Ramesh Palme Dutt, okay, according to his analysis. So this is the phase where the British made products, the cheap British made products, flooded the Indian markets. Particularly which industry of India got affected? It's the textile industries. India was known for textile industries since time immemorial. Industrial civilization, the first civilization to produce cotton. Okay, even today, that textile contributes to major chunk of Indian exports to the garment industries in India. Okay, so now the textile industries got affected because of industrial revolution in England, because they started exporting more and more cheap textile products of Manchester, Birmingham, okay, Leeds, Liverpool. These ports were used to export into India. So that is how industrial revolution affected Indian markets or Indian traditional goods. And there are also, because the question was how far it is the industrial revolution, not just industrial revolution particularly per se, but rather other reasons for destruction of Indian handicrafts. We have to talk about the British economic policies in India. Because what are the British economic policies? Make sure India is being turned into provider of raw materials and importer of the finished products. So that is what? To get raw materials for their industries. And that is possible only through their economic policies, by increasing more taxes on Indian exports. Okay. At the same time, Indian raw materials were cheaply exported. That is because Britishers were ruling over India. And secondly, the infrastructure development that happened in India, that is the railways, the growth of railways. The growth of railways ultimately contributed for reaching Indian hinterlands. Now the British products could reach the Indian hinterlands, the cheap goods. Okay. And from the hinterlands, from the remote areas, they could export the raw materials at cheap cost. That is also one of the reasons. Okay. And then again, the growth of factory system. Okay. The growth of factory system in India, especially in the urban centers, that led to concentration of production in few areas. And that led to labor migration. Okay. The labor migration, because artisans already not finding any kind of markets right now. They're not being supported by the economic policies. And now they look for employment in these industries. That is the British controlled industries. Now they left their profession. When they left their profession, that is the livelihood shifted from traditional industries to the modern industries. On top of that, to make Indians as a better customers of the Western goods, to grow Western tastes, to grow Western values, the Westernization started happening with social religious reform movements. We can talk about introduction of the English education. That is the reason we are speaking English today. Okay, that is acquired Western taste Indians. And when you acquire a Western taste, obviously there is a demand for Western goods. And that when you are demanding Western goods, and there is a reduced demand for domestic goods too. So that also affected the traditional industries of India. On top of that, British economic policies caused a lot of famines that led to destruction of livelihoods. And at the same time, there are a lot of disasters happened. Okay, many disasters, natural disasters. Okay, because Indian economy depends upon climate a lot, and that strained the local industries also. And that led to abandoning their own livelihood, abandoning their profession, abandoning their crafts in search of new survival. That new survival could be in these factories also. Again, most of the British control. And for the new survival, they had to harp back on Indian agriculture, which was already fragmented, which was becoming more and more uneconomic. Okay, so these are the reasons. Okay, so that is the English industrial revolution, how that contributed for the destruction, and how other reasons for destructions for Indian traditional industries also. In conclusion, you can say that is when other parts of the world which was experiencing industrial revolution, other parts of the world, even America, France, England, particularly Western European countries, India was experiencing deindustrialization. So loss of livelihood was happening. So Indian people were had to depend more and more on agriculture. So India became an agricultural colony of industrial Britain. So you can end this with what was the scale of exploitation. So India's share in the manufacturing in 1700 was 25% of the market share in world GDP, which came down to 3 to 4% in 1947. Again, you always reinforce your arguments with some kind of facts. Okay, so instead of scoring 3-4, you might be scoring 5-6-7. Okay, that's huge. Okay, that's 100% increase from 3 to 6. Okay, so look at that one. Okay, so these are the questions that were asked. I would say that is, these are the 6 questions. So a lot of scope for analysis, a lot of scope for improvements. Okay, so in your answers, so if you, again, we covered all these topics in our programs. So this is about all the history questions we have discussed. So hopefully you got some ideas. So idea is very simple, that make sure you have that topic understanding in comprehensively. Okay, that is the background of the topic, and what is the future, what happened after that particular topic. Now when the questions asked about that particular topic, you can write better answers about that. Okay, so thank you so much. See you in the next session. All the best.